Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcasts. I'm going to be drilling down on this subject in the live stream, but I think it's safe to preview it just a bit here. If you are of the empire, need you guys to stop and think for a bit before you go jumping out the window, particularly if you are one of the sad folks who FOMO'd into AMP at 12 cents. Where you discovered it or how you discovered it is irrelevant. That you discovered it is very relevant. I know I've done this before, and it kind of feels like I'm turning into a shill for AMP. And I don't know, maybe I am a bit. But AMP is it's a shill-free token. It's shill-free because the long-term value of AMP, and I really want you to think about this one, the long-term value of AMP is not in its liquidity. So it does not matter to me. Doesn't matter to the empire if you buy it or not. It makes no difference to this one long-term. The Flexa network, by its very design and well illustrated in their white paper, points clearly to the fact that it doesn't matter if anyone buys it. The network will buy its own liquidity all by itself. Doesn't matter if you buy it. The only thing that does matter is that it gets used. And that is our short and sweet monologue into the purpose of this video. And honestly, it's just a reminder for the long-term AMP folks. There is no other token in the crypto space, with maybe the exception of Ethereum, that derives its value solely through usage and not liquidity. And although the partnerships are made with Flexa, they are not yet implemented. But it applies hugely to the intrinsic value of AMP, and we are getting into that today. Please stand by. Ethereum is what makes the DeFi run at this time. We can argue it from any angle, but as long as you need Ethereum to make the DeFi work, and you do, Ethereum is a token that derives almost its total value from usage. The simple fact that gas fees fluctuate day to day and hour to hour proves that point. Ethereum is the underlying token that allows value transfers. Now, AMP is what makes Flexa run at this time, and you know what, for all time. So comparing the principle of Ethereum to AMP is not really a stretch for me. These are utility tokens. To go up, they must be used. There's still some speculation in Ethereum, of course. Mining continues. Liquidity must go somewhere. But the fundamentals of Ethereum haven't changed, and its intrinsic value has also not changed. So what is intrinsic value? And you need to know this one if you haven't known it up until this moment. If you have, just go to sleep for a minute. Intrinsic value is a measure of what an asset is worth. The measure is arrived at by means of an objective calculation and financial model, rather than using the currently trading market price of that asset. Now, there is no universal standard for calculating the intrinsic value of a company, but financial analysts build valuation models based on aspects of a business that include qualitative, quantitative, and perceptual factors. This matters, and it matters a lot when it comes to a new company like Flexa that is doing a new thing. If I was to say to you that Ethereum will go up, offering no context aside from the fact that if you have a basic understanding of crypto and blockchain, you would have a tendency to agree with me, because you know that as the crypto market expands, Ethereum value expands with it proportionally. If it gets 10% bigger, and that 10% is created on the Ethereum chain, Ethereum value will increase approximately 10% as a matter of course. Now, clearly, there are some variables in that. This is not an absolute by any means, but a rational person who knows that Ethereum's value is derived from usage, and 10% more Ethereum is being used while the supply of Ethereum remains fixed, it's pretty simple math right there. So let's apply the intrinsic formula to AMP and see what happens. As it sits, AMP is not being used much. It just isn't. It is used when a purchase is collateralized on the network. But aside from that, it's just sitting there waiting, as susceptible to market fluctuations as any unused asset. It's waiting. Now, if it was going to continue to wait and not be utilized, I tell you to get out. It's a coin now. It's purely speculative. It might as well be Doge. But the highway had to be built before traffic can use it. Now, Flexa is the highway, and it has been built. The network works. Anyone who has made a purchase at any of the currently available merchants knows that it works. It's quick, it's safe, it's efficient. But for an intrinsic value to be fully realized, you got to get the traffic up. So how does the network do this? Partnerships. Flexa is just a pay rail. It's a good one, yeah, but it's still just a pay rail, and it's not terribly exciting. Visa isn't exciting either. But if Flexa is integrated into a system that is already out in the world, already processing huge volumes of traffic, and placed in locations that will see immediate utilization, overseas in particular, the traffic is now moving on the highway. And like Ethereum, that goes up the more it is used. AMP will also go up the more it is used. Supply and demand is an absolute reality. Ignore that at your own peril. More demand for AMP, more traffic on the network, fixed supply. Figure it out. And as the fees start coming in greater volume, and as those fees are used to buy up liquidity, supply and demand, figure it out. There's a reason that I am so excited about AMP, but I don't really care if you buy it or not. Long term, it's not going to matter. The network will feed itself. Millions and millions of transactions every month, and the network will feed itself. The product is ready now. The partnerships are ready now. This, right now, today, this very minute, this is the waiting game that the crypto market as a whole really seems to suck at. Crypto moves fast. Therefore, everything crypto related should also move fast. But AMP doesn't because it's barely a crypto. It's a store of wealth. Yes, a fixed store of wealth and not a fiat store of wealth. And a lot of people just cannot process that concept. You have to let this one play out at legacy world speed, not crypto speed. The legacy world is hesitant to change. And they don't care for things that they don't understand. And when it comes to their money, they are terrified of it. But you know what? People were afraid of electricity at one time. I'm just saying, let the process work. Let the implementation continue. When the intrinsic value of a product is greater than the market price of that product, it's time to buy it. And sometimes it really is that simple. Now, I've been getting more and more comments on my videos from doomsayers, and I love doomsayers, by the way. These guys are my favorite. It's going to zero, man. All is lost. Run, hair on fire, and all that. Guys, I would love you to qualify those statements. Apply an intrinsic model to AMP, a realistic one, and qualify the statement. Anyone can say it's going to go up or it's going to go down. YouTube is filled with those, and they are a lot more popular than I am. But at least offer some context, real context. If you keep making a comparison of AMP, which is a use case token, to anything else that isn't, you're wasting your time. You're wasting our time. They are different sports entirely. I said a long time ago that AMP is an investor's token, and nothing has changed my mind on that. I just provided you a tiny bit of intrinsic rationality of why it's going to go up and how it will get there. I'm not shilling it. It doesn't need to be shilled. I don't care if you buy it or not, because it is currently buying itself, feeding the stakers. You just got to be patient and let the process happen. If you want to bash it, at least have a reason that is applicable, an intrinsic reason, a qualitative reason. Else you're just running around and posting it all in capital letters and saying, look at me, look at me. Live stream on Thursdays and Saturdays, and if you would like to bash my views, baby, phone lines are always open. Cheers.